But any movement that you can do, especially solo movement, is going to help just boost everything. That's it. That's all I'll say. Love your basics, make it gorgeous basics. Uh, dance as much as you can in anything, and every class you could. There's gold in every class. Maybe I'll wear my crown.
Hey, yeah, why not? Definitely. So I am now on the line with a Miss Jessica Lamdon, aka Unicorn, who is a Brazilian Zouk dancer, instructor, and performer. You are also an actor as well as an MC. Is that correct?
Yeah.
You have been dancing since the age of 8, and you started with competitive ballroom. Is that right?
Yeah. Ballroom
Yeah.
dance.
Born and raised in Brooklyn, New York, and you and your dance partner Riel, you all, or he is the creator of Zen Zouk. That's your dance partner though.
Yes, yes, and mentor.
Mentor. Okay, sure enough. Sure enough. How are you doing today, Miss Landon?
I'm good. I was saying earlier, I'm so happy that we finally did this because I know we scheduled to meet like months ago, and so I'm so happy to see you now. And I know it's quarantine, and it's also a very like politically charged time right now in the States. A lot is happening, a lot of growing, a lot of healing, right? In all aspects, but the I'm just so grateful for the dance community to just keep showing up in all these different ways, not even during the quarantine, well, especially during the quarantine, like all we're online and we're showing up. And just now I came from Romina Hidalgo's Unicorn Weekend event. So it's like we had just like an online social, and I'm it's my midnight, so I'm sweaty and like changing for this, but I have all this like energy from dancing, So it's been a crazy week, but I'm dance is like medicine, you know.
That's so true.
Yeah.
It's been so long since I've been able to dance, so I definitely understand that.
Get out of here. Oh, wait a second. I didn't ask you, but you were in Georgia, Atlanta,
Oh,
Georgia, and now you're living in
okay. So I was in New Orleans, Louisiana.
shoot, sorry, New Orleans. Yeah.
It's okay. I was in New Orleans. I was there for about two years, and then I moved back home to Virginia for a little while, and
Virginia.
now I am in Guam.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So it's just I'm actually in the military, so that's why I'm moving around so much.
That's amazing.
Yeah. I
Military
never
and dance.
exactly. I yeah, I never thought I would ever get the chance to live in Guam, but so I'm very, very excited to live here. Yeah.
I The cool thing to say. At first, I was like, "He's really in Guam? Like, is this a real person?" No, because it's like an exotic. Like people would say, "Oh, he's somewhere in Guam," and they just mean they're just far away. But you're far away and you're in Guam.
Yeah, it was about a 25-hour flight to get out here. Yeah.
Wow.
But yeah, it's really cool. Everything is obviously because of COVID, a lot of stuff is on lockdown right now, but got some beautiful beaches. I'll say that immediately. Beautiful beaches, beautiful water. Yeah, it's got like this little island vibe to it. It's kind of like slow. So it's really cool
Love,
though.
I love.
I heard they have some social dancing out here, so I'm very eager to see what they have.
Yeah. Well, once all of this passes, COVID, that would be a great place.
Of course, of course, of course. But I'll be honest with you, Miss Jessica, we did not set this up to talk about me today.
Yes. Sorry.
So I mean, I guess to start this out, I would be very curious to hear from you were born and raised in Brooklyn. I'm very curious to hear what was your childhood like growing up in Brooklyn.
Yeah, it was great. And Yeah, I guess the perfect time to talk about my upbringing is now, like during all of this, during this time. Um, so I had two immigrant parents. They're from Russia, and I was living in an Italian neighborhood, like yeah, Italian neighborhood. It's called kind of Mill Basin Marine Park area, close to Kings Plaza. I went to public school and with a lot of different kids, and that's my upbringing, like public. Uh, what is it? I forgot what schools are even called. Junior high school, elementary school, junior high school, college. So I was always in this metropolitan kind of life. I always knew people had different languages, different accents, different yeah, different accents. Because in New York you could speak English, but so for me it was really cool, and I loved accents from the beginning. So I had so many Italian friends. I would try to mimic their accents all the time. And Russian was my first language, but then I went to school, everyone spoke English, so there was a shift. But languages is I really like it. So in junior high school I learned Spanish, not not well, but I well enough to know that I can pick it up, and now I speak Portuguese, I some French. So growing up here is awesome because a fun fact, I don't know how to drive. I never needed to know how to drive.
I said, so living in New York, I understand that.
I know I should learn though, but I can take the train really well. I can walk well. So it's been a lot of opportunity here, a lot of arts. Any activity you could find it. So I'm really happy that I grew up here.
That's
Yeah.
amazing. That's amazing.
Yeah.
You kind of spoke on it. You said, you have parents who are from Russia. I'm very curious to hear from you. What was it like growing up in that household?
Yes, and there's a stereotype, I think, not just of people who have immigrant parents, like kind of wanting you to do better and better, but especially Russian, like immigrant parents, like strict, they want you to be a doctor or whatever, they push for straight A's, like a 90 isn't good enough. That's a stereotype, right? My parents, I was super lucky. They're super supportive. They adapted really well here. In a cultural way, like they weren't stuck with their ways, so they were very open. From a young age I wanted to dance. I really like theater, and they were always about that. So I wouldn't be where I am now without like that kind of care. That they were very, very loving. So, and gung-ho, I think my dad, even when I was younger, he just put on music and encouraged us to move in the living room. My mom suggested anything, and if I said no, she'd be down. When I was into dancing, they were all like, gung ho, arts, let's do it. Even now, I know this is kind of, it's hard to for some families to be like, oh, you're choosing the arts, great. So I really
That's
love.
amazing. Yeah, to grow up in a supporting family. Oh my goodness, that's such a blessing as well.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
definitely understand that.
We
Let
don't
me
have
ask you this,
much culture.
I'm very curious. Oh,
Yeah,
how important was music in your household when you were growing up?
good question. It was important. My dad, he played the drums growing up, but and like natural, like not taking classes, but he just played the drums. He just learned how to mess with the guitar. So he was super musical. And in the army, actually, he somehow was like led a dance troupe and was in like the newspaper for dancing. He was like, he tells this story, and I can't retell it well, but he's like, I had this opportunity. I didn't know what I was doing, but I just did it and committed to dancing. And like, we held auditions, and I did a choreography. And like, I don't know, he just grew up moving his body. He's really good in this kind of natural way. So what else I really enjoyed was that in the car, he never. stuck with the same thing. He was always about the new radio station. He was always about the new music. And that's something that's really awesome. We were never like stuck on one soundtrack, you know? So,
That's awesome. That's amazing.
Whoa. Hey, if you could leave a like and subscribe, that would be amazing for the channel. Let's get back to the video.
That's awesome. That's amazing.
yeah.
And, and so tell me this, I'm very curious to hear from you. I guess, what were some of your childhood hobbies? What did you enjoy doing as a child?
That's great. My mom also really liked theater, so she was great and always found activities for us. So like children's plays or some sort of arts and crafts. I was always into that. I loved movies just so I was able to kind of mimic, their accents or some like phrases. And so I always wanted to do theater, but I got really involved with ballroom dancing. I really wanted to do ballroom and train hard. So from 13 to like 15, I was doing it really like serious, as rehearsing and competing as much as I could. But then my junior year or end of sophomore year, I stopped and I went to a kind of performance artsy school and I saw their shows and I always wanted to do it, but I was dancing. So my last 2 years, I finally like auditioned and I was in. That was like all I did. I was in every single musical show, every single semester. I liked it. I loved it so much that I wanted to audition for like a conservatory for musical theater or for acting. I got into one, but then I decided to go to college and like get a BA in psychology. I also really love psych stuff and the brain communications, and but I still ended up doing theater the whole time in it throughout college. So I'd say theater and like this kind of performance stuff, dancing, that was always a hobby. That was always something I really loved. Yeah.
Okay, okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm very curious to hear from you. You kind of brought it up already. Your you got into the ballroom scene, the competitive ballroom scene. I'm very curious to hear from you. Do you remember your beginner stage, and what was that like for you?
That's a good question. My mom reminded me recently from my really how I began, and I remember it was we spent like one summer upstate, like I don't know if you heard the Poconos, whatever, upstate kind of New Jersey area, and there was this camp of kids in the middle of like this square. They were all dancing, and they were all dancing together and like just having fun, like really killing it, but also like had this fun energy. And I was like, wow, I really I want to do that, And already I had this doubt, like, can I do that? Is that something I can do? So I went in, and I remember this one moment in the beginning of like the first few months, it there was a moment I was young and we were doing samba, not gigafiera, not Brazilian, but ballroom samba, and we were all traveling around the room, and I remembered like it felt like a movie because the music was loud. We're all doing the same step, and it felt like we were in this show, like all doing the same step, and I was like, wow, this feels cool, So it already had this feeling of we're training something and we can do it together and we're speaking the similar dance language. So already I was like, okay. Then learning about movement, that's a great question because it's like such a blur. And Riel, my dance partner, said, he goes, you're gonna use what you learned from ballroom, but forget it because you have to unlearn some things, learn some things. So some of this stuff is coming back, but I'm like, I couldn't tell you how I learned it. Maybe a few drills, but like maybe when I was a kid, it just, you do it twice, 3 times a week, you're doing it, and then finally something clicks. I remember some drills, but really like it's a blur. It's like this dance blur. Another moment I remembered when I was 13, I was taking a private lesson, and one of the advanced boys helped lead a move. And we were doing like waltz or tango, something in this close frame. And at 13, it was like a few years. he danced with me and I was like, oh, that's what it feels like. Like something clicked at 13, like dancing together. I remember those two moments distinctly, like, oh, this is cool at 8, and then at 13 being like, oh, an aha moment. And I feel like I've been striving for that aha moment, you know? It's kind of like maybe for you or for any of us when you go to your first social and you have that good dance and you're like, whoa, I need to look for that, you know? So I was really lucky to have that experience young as well, you know?
I definitely understand
These
that.
are
And yes, of
you're
course.
having me reminiscing here. I'm really enjoying now. Like, yeah, what was I thinking?
That's amazing. So yeah, so you're growing up, you get into the competitive ballroom scene, and then you start to transition to I guess kind of acting and getting into plays and everything.
Yeah.
I'm very curious to hear from you. I guess what happens for you after high school?
Yeah. So high school, I was thinking like maybe it's conservatory. Maybe I go and do because for me, acting and theater, it's funny because dancing takes more effort for me. Like in a different like way more doubts, comparison, like so much. It's like so much to learn, so much unlearning. And acting was always this magic thing that I loved, and I dove in and I commit, you know. And I didn't take classes. Like I would take classes just to do fun exercises, but it wasn't studying like how do you it wasn't technique. It was just like theater games. So I had this like magic, and I didn't want to study it too hard because I just wanted it to be this magic thing that I do. So I could have gone to this conservatory. It was called AMDA, American Music and Drama Academy, something like that. But then I was like, I do love psychology. Let me get a BA. Like, let me just go to college, let me do this thing. So I went to Hunter University. It's a CUNY school, city university. And they also had theater. So I was like, well, I could study and I could just audition. And the amount of stuff I was doing there, it was like practically like I was a theater major, you know? So I saved money on school. I got a BA in psych, and I had all of this theater experience and film experience. And then so like there was this fun turning point where dance came back in. So I was doing psych. I had every intention of like going to grad school, studying to do the psych thing. I was interning in a lab, like I was like on my way. And theater, I was like, theater's always there. I can maybe do theater, community theater. I was like, I love this, but having a job is also helpful, So my junior year, side note, in college, I was going through a French phase. I also loved French. Like I wanted to be French. That was my thing. So junior year, I um, I studied abroad for 1 month in France to learn French more, And in that summer, in my program was all Brazilians. It was the first time I met Brazilians. I heard Portuguese. I was like, what is this? And this is going on a different journey. This is how I found Zouk. So but it's linked, if that's okay, right? So my shift of college, this is happening towards the end. So I'm in France. I meet these Brazilians. I'm obsessed with them. They're so exotic. Their language, they're this, they're that. They're always partying, friendly. And one day they gave a presentation in class, like to share about their culture. And they started dancing forró, which is one of their dances. I'm looking at them. I'm like, I did ballroom. Like, what dance is that? Is this choreography? How do they know what they're doing? They're like, no, we're just dancing together. This is a social dance. I'm like, really? So that night they have a party in like one of their dorms, and there's samba music playing. And I'm like, oh, I know samba. Let me, they're like, oh yeah, like show us. So I show them my ballroom samba. They're like, that's not samba. That's not what we do. And I'm like, what do you mean that's not what you do? What the And then I learned that's not what I was doing. And I was just like, okay, there's all this dancing, and I haven't danced in, in a few years. I come home, I'm like, forget French. I'm obsessed with these Brazilians, and I look up forró. For months on YouTube, I'm looking up forró. I'm like, I want to do this. I really want to do this. And in my maze of forró, I stumble upon a video of a beautiful dancer. I'm looking and I'm getting chills, and I feel like I'm sure what a lot of people feel. But I felt something so strong come over me. I was like inspired but devastated at the same time. I'm thinking how I don't even know how old I was, like 20, 20, 21, 20. I'm like, my career is over, I'm too old to do it, be a dancer, blah 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 blah. Whatever. I'm looking and I'm like, this woman looks like she did ballroom or something like that. This couple was Natasha Terenkina, my first love, my idol, and Agilio Porto. And they were doing this demo in Paris of Brazilian Zouk Lambada. And that's when like everything changed. I became obsessed with Natasha, and she was dancing with Gilson Damasco. So I was like looking at them for months. And finally in 2012, the fall of 2012, my senior year, I took a class of Zouk. My first class was with Kim Rotier, and the second class was with Riel Vilandia, my now dance partner. And then everything everything got fuzzy because my last year of college, thank God I didn't find this dance earlier, or else I would have flunked college altogether. Like, it was a disaster. I somehow did college. I was still doing theater stuff, but I noticed myself like kind of from rehearsal wanting to see what I'm doing with dance, what the next social is. My lab that I'm interning in, they're like, maybe you should choose what it is you want to do, like make a choice. Either you do something full out or you don't do it. And I was like, man, and something in me was just like, after I graduate, I want to hold off grad school, applying to grad school, because it's not easy, right? Getting into grad school. But I just kept like running after Zouk, just training as much as I could, taking as many classes, going to any event. And I still feel like that. I'm just like chasing this because I feel like, like I love it. The way I felt when I first saw it, I was staying up 2 a.m. like practicing videos in my room just because I thought I would never be able to do it. So to do it now is like, it's a dream, but it's also like, man, it doesn't matter if you don't know what the hell your life is going to look like, or stability, but that feeling that it gives you is like worth it. Sorry, this story went long. This story went like this,
No, you're
but
fine.
that's how it worked out.
Okay, okay. I mean, I appreciate that. I have quite a few questions for you, but I guess I'm very curious to hear from you. Would you be able to put into words, why you are drawn so much to, I guess, dance, to Brazilian Zoo? Can you put that into words?
I'll try. That's You have great questions. I'll try. I think because I stopped dancing when I was like 15, really like how I was training, there was a part of me that felt like that's over and that's not who I am anymore. And it felt like a loss, like it's like sad to say I'm not what I loved anymore. So when I saw this again and this like opportunity, I remember after my first class or my first social, I said I feel like a part of myself was back. So already it feels like I'm not just using my mind anymore. I'm using my whole body to grow and to explore and to be fully present. So it feels like a part of me that I always dreamt about is I'm getting like closer to her. I'm getting closer to become her. I mean, that and my journey, I say this, but I think it's really important. Like, I'm very blessed to be dancing with my mentor, and the things that I'm learning about dance, it's just very rich, because to learn also through your body, it it it's a lot, you know. I mean, you know, you're in the freaking military. Like, you have to use everything and your mind at the same time. It's like, it's a lot of, you have a lot at stakes, you know, but it's still a dance, right? In
Yeah,
its
of
own way.
course. Of course, definitely. I definitely understand what you're saying. I especially you said being present, and that's something that I definitely can like attest to or I agree with. Cause I think being present is a skill in and of itself, but I think some of the best dances that you have are when you're being present and in the moment and not, somewhere else in your mind.
You know what else I'm learning? It's not even just dancing, but I learned through dancing. Like, I thought cliche, like mind body connection, being in the moment, blah 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 blah. I'm like, okay, I'm in the moment. But really, I learned dancing what present being it means. You know, I remember Ree was like, what were you thinking in that demo, or like whatever? And I'm like, I'm thinking blah 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 blah. I'm thinking that you don't like this, or I'm not doing that, and I should be working this, blah, blah, blah. He goes, that's what you're thinking while we're dancing? Like, of course it's gonna feel crazy. And I'm like, I didn't even ask like, I didn't even notice. I just thought it was normal to have a mind full of like you know, craziness. And after that, being present when you do anything is like, is the best. It's a practice. It's work, but it's awesome, you know, when it happens, or just to know that you can do it.
Definitely, of course, of course. I think some people call it like a flow state. I think that's what some people call it. So I definitely understand that.
Flow state.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So you went you pretty much told me your whole journey, but so you meet Kim Rodier, who I'm trying to get on the show. I've heard nothing but good things about her.
Oh yes,
Yeah, I'm
yeah.
trying to get her on the show. Yeah, but you said your class with her and you get introduced to Riel. I guess I want to hear about I guess once again your beginner stage. I want to hear about your beginner stage in Brazilian Zouk.
Yeah, that's one I remember, and I'm still in. That's
Okay.
that's a great question, because it's different from when I was younger, you know? I'm noticing so much, like how crazy I am now before you know, like the insecurities, or the, oh my God, you know, all the stories, all the, I want, it's blocks, you know, people say blocks, but I feel like, yes, blocks, but it's just the unknown of my body, you know, like things that I just thought that I couldn't do and I didn't even know was there. So I'm learning as an adult. When you learn, because you're so aware, it's like different. You're like, oh, I get shy sometimes, or I judge even before I do it, or I lose patience. Like, oh my, even now I lose my freaking patience. Like, why can't I just get this thing, you know? So it's very humbling. It's so humbling, you know? I feel like sometimes you go in and you're like, or me, yeah, I could do that. Oh, what, that's like simple. And the simplest things are the freaking like hardest, or like the most important. So it's just like life lesson after life lesson of patience, practicing patience, of being attentive to the details, because it's all in the details. And it's so cliche. It's how you change your weight, how you stand, you know, how it's everything you do. And then I'm noticing, and I'm so grateful for this, that you can take this into your life and just notice. Like, for instance, my thing is, you know, suitcases in the overhead compartment when you travel on a plane. I'm a shrimp, like I'm short, you know, but because of this, I'm really paying attention to what I'm doing. And I'm getting that suitcase. I forget what it's like to even touch a suitcase because of this quarantine, but you know, like little things, like how I cut, you know, my food, how I hold things, my posture, like the dance trickles in When I wait for the train, I like play with my feet, or so it's a trip. It's a trip, and it's a mind trip, I think. I'm trying to train my freaking mind every day.
I understand that. Let
Yeah.
me let me ask you this real quick, and if you could word this for advice to beginners, um, what are some things that you know now that you wish you had known when you first started dancing Brazilian Zouk?
Yeah. Oof, good one. And you know what? It's advice that I still give myself right now, by the way, because I think every teacher is going to show you something. Every teacher. No class will go, it will be a waste of time, because it's even someone's voice or the words they choose can help in any way, in any way. So that's good advice. Like, no class is a waste to commit. I guess the other is it's never that's simple. Sorry, like a movement is never that boring from the beginning, even if it's the basic in place, the basic back and front. From the beginning, how can you make that the most beautiful thing you've ever done? Like, if I and I'm telling myself now, because now I'm taking more enjoyment in all of my little things, because of I had some time to do them. But I think in the beginning, if I knew that as well, that would have helped. I Everything is on the perfect timing. Everything is great. But that's some good advice. Every class is helpful. um the basics, and making them like delicious, whatever that means, is really important. And I don't know if I'd say this in the beginning, but it's just good to know. The more, oh, actually, I would. The more movement you know across the board, the better. Because I think that in the Zouk, in the beginning of my Zouk journey, I thought Zouk was enough. You know what I mean? Like, Zouk was enough to train. Then I got into yoga, like, again, and I was like, okay, well, I'm doing something for my body. But Riel inspired me so much. He goes, take ballet. I'm like, I can't take ballet. It's too late for me. Blah, blah, blah. I started taking ballet. It kicked my ass mentally, physically, whatever. But any movement that you can do, especially solo movement, is gonna help just boost everything. That's it. That's all I'll say. Love your basics. Make it gorgeous basics. Uh, dance as much as you can in anything, and every class you could. There's gold in every class.
Super true, and I understand that. I've heard many people speak about the benefits of cross training, so I definitely understand that.
Yeah.
I definitely understand that. Um, I'm very curious to hear about, so you, like, it's going back to when you first met Riel. Um, this is a question that just kind of came to my mind, but I'm very curious to hear about, what is it like having a dance partner? Because that's kind of a relationship in its own way. So yeah, what is that like? Can you speak on that?
It's a blessing. It's a massive blessing. It's a gift. I mean, it's great to dance alone, and you can do it. And no giving up if you dance alone, because dancing alone is great. But again, with ballroom, because it started when I was really young, so I was lucky to have a partner even then. My because it's always more follows, more girls at the time, more girls, less guys, and typically girls follow. So whenever you don't have a partner, it's like a big process to find. So I was super lucky to have my dance partners in our journey growing up when I was younger. And then I kept looking for a dance partner after, and I didn't find one. And luckily, that was great because I did theater. So I think it Zouk is different because it's not competitive ballroom. Competitive ballroom, it's you guys against the world. In Zouk, it's you're close, but it's a social scene, so you can dance with everybody, and that's awesome. Um, you know, I'm just so lucky that Ree's not only a dance partner, but he's a teacher, and I really, to have someone coach me, that works for me. Like that's awesome for me. I'm not like an alpha person, and I needed a lot of training. So he was extremely generous to give me his time and invest in me as a dancer. And so it's really it's a gift, especially if it's someone that you respect and you admire. Like I'm learning so much from our friendship, from our relationship, what I want to bring into like uh a different any of my relationships. That's communication, um the patience to learn from each other, to, to seek out the positives all the time. It's great to have someone in small ways care, and it's so special. Someone that's gonna like, they're not gonna be, no one is perfect. You can't expect anything from anyone, but what they have to offer and the ways that they show care, it's also a gift. Someone
Let me
will
ask you this
talk
real.
you like someone know, like small things like that. But for me, I think it's so nice, right? Like someone has your back in certain ways. Sorry, continue.
No, you're fine. You're fine. I kind of want to go off of that right there. I'm very curious to hear from you. I guess in your opinion, what makes for a good teacher, for a good mentor? Is it them, truly caring about you and your success? What attributes does a great mentor, a great teacher have?
So good. You know what I think first begins with you. What is that you want for your journey? For you to find a mentor, it means like you have to admire their movement, how they teach, what they teach. So I love the teacher that he is. I love the movement that he does. I love the choreography that he does. And I just want to be a part of that. In the beginning, I wanted to be a part of that in any way. So already it's I won the lottery, like, because I found someone that I just admire all these things, and that's why it works, because I admire it. The second layer is that um he I think it's all because of me. No, it's all because what I seek is there, and that's why it works. I think that's like, it's now what your mentor can do for you. It's like find someone that you want to be around, and already it's going to be a good mentor. Um but it tells me the truth, and sometimes that's a really difficult thing to do. He has patience for for me to do something that I can't do exactly. Um, he breaks down details, and he sees that if it's not working, it's not my fault. Like he's gonna work on breaking it down more and more for me, for anyone really. It's not even just me. It's like he's just a really good teacher. You know. Um, But I think it's those qualities, like someone is going to willingly tell you the hard truth, someone who's going to give you your space as well to grow, not like on top of you, because that's also really important. Um, I'm learning a lot about that too, because I could be a super like like attached, person, and he's also showing me like you need to grow on your own too, and that's a really big gift, the power of space, so that you don't get too dependent or too attached, and you find all these changes. I thank that man for changing my life, like for helping me grow as a person. I guess someone at the end of the day who's going to help you grow as a person in whatever way that's going to be.
That's super important. That's super, super important, and I understand that. And it sounds like you said, it sounds like an amazing blessing to have that. It sounds amazing. I I'm curious. I guess how did that come about though? You kind of just spoke on it. I guess did he pull your name out of a hat? Like how did what happened?
Oh, so my first class that he took, he was rotating the followers, and it was my turn. And he goes, "Whoa, you've done this before." And I'm like, "No, I haven't." In my head, I'm like, "I've just been watching this for months and like dancing in my room, but I've not done this." And I just told him like, "I really want to train. I really want to learn this, and I want to do this well." That was my goal. I just wanted to do this well. I just wanted to feel this thing and do it well. Okay, so we set up a private lesson, and our first like kind of social dance, he goes, "You feel like my sister," which is a huge compliment. His sister is Chloe Ferreira. She dances with Dejan and Chloe.
They were in New Orleans. I definitely know Chloe. So that's her brother.
That's her brother.
Oh, I know Chloe and Dejan definitely.
She is
And
from.
dude, she's an amazing Brazilian Zouk dancer.
She's the one. She's the one. Like
Oh,
she.
that's really cool. It's such a small world. Oh my goodness.
It's such a small world. So they're siblings, and she started also when she was like 8 years old, and Riel trained her. So he's like, that's in his blood as well. He's just a really good trainer. And so he said that, and I saw them on video, so that I already knew that was a huge compliment. And he goes like, "Where my team and I are performing in 3 weeks. Come." And I'm like, okay. So every Sunday I would travel like 2.5 hours to New Jersey and learn this routine and train with them. And because Chloe was like 15, I think, at the time. So she was in Jersey, and Ree was living in the city with his husband. And he would teach in the city, and I would be there all the time, so I would help assist class, like take attendance, or if he needed like help showing something. So I was always around, and like very quickly he would see a lot of me, because I was there in the city, and I was also going to New Jersey, and I like met his sister there and his team. So you know how teams are, like you get close pretty fast when you rehearse and you traveling to congresses. um so it happened kind of like that. After I just started taking lessons and private lessons and training, and I was just a part of the team, and we were always together, and things came about like that. Chloe Chloe started getting into modeling, getting into other like dances. He did a big show called Brazuca, that traveled all over Australia, Edinburgh, South Africa, and Ree was the dance captain for that. And the show was the story of Braz dos Santos, kind of the story of Lambada. So that was a really big deal, and I kind of was here in New York taking care of the classes. So everyone was kind of doing their own thing. And then when he came back, Chloe was doing her thing, I was here. So it was just like very convenient. And I'm just very lucky, again, at the end of the day. Like, all this literally was handed to me. So yeah.
So what? He comes back and then you ask to be his dance partner, or what happens?
Oh no, you know what? We didn't even say dance partners. I was always like one of his dancers. I was always one of his dancers at the end of the day, like from the beginning. So when gigs would ask for him to come, like dance, I would just go, because I would be going to the festival, and I'm like, I support like him. I'm one of his dancers. So then slowly, like when abroad, I would go with him, and then eventually we had a show just in case. So like it wasn't anything serious. Like we're dance partners, we're announcing it. It wasn't serious. I was always a part of the team. I was always dancing. Even now, I feel like I'm his dancer. I'm a part of this. You, it's not 50-50, and it shouldn't be that way, because I'm still learning from him. I think that's the key to this as well, like respecting and seeing who's doing what. And it feels
Uh,
fair. Yeah.
I'm curious. Is this your full-time job, or do you have a full-time job?
Man, it's my full-time job, but it's like it's more love, you know what I mean? It's yeah, it's a job, but it's funny because before the quarantine, it was like a lot of traveling and and living like this, you know. So it's something I do full time for sure.
Oh man.
I always say this: I don't own anything, but I have everything. You know?
Oh, so that leads me to a lot more questions. So I guess when when were you able to, I guess, quit your daytime job and start doing this full time?
You know, because I was in college and I I had this like I was like a babysitter, nanny. I worked with kids. So that was my job. I'm living with my parents, you know, because I'm from here and I went to school here, so I didn't have to like move, you know. My parents and I are very close and it doesn't this, we're tight. Like I'm very, you know, fortunate here. So then quitting the babysitter thing wasn't like a big deal, you know. It wasn't that big of a deal, and I just again like threw myself at this dream. So it felt like after college, it feels like I'm going through college all over again by dancing and just committing to this. Even if I did have a job, like there wouldn't be time to do it, you know, because this is everything. I do need to get smarter about that, like money and stuff, but it's just been kind of living like this, you know, exchanges, and then exchanges turns into like traveling. Here's food, stay, and like a little bit of, you know, here money, and you know, so it's all growing. I think that's a part of the process. It feels like this whole learning experience of how to make this sustainable, but you know, like working your tools so you have something to offer, you know? And that's what this has been about. Like just trading so I have something to offer that, you know, has value.
Okay, okay, that's amazing. Let me I'm very curious to hear from you. 'Cause, you know, I'm gonna be honest with you, I know for a fact that we live two different lifestyles.
Yeah.
You know, I have to clock in Monday through Friday. So I'm very curious to hear from you know, what are some things that people may not know about the life of a full-time dancer?
Yeah. You know, I think from dancer to dancer it varies, because it like depends. Do you own your studio? Do you travel? You know, like do you give classes at someone else's studio? Um, maybe something in general, like a general across the board, something that I'm discovering now. What you don't know maybe about a dancer's life is like the amount of creativity you need to have. Because I'm learning a lot to be like a teacher. Because during the I'm teaching more now by myself, like because of the quarantine, but because also you know, we're dividing and conquering because we also have a community here, so we're able to split up jobs, which is great. I'm learning as like a teacher the amount of creativity and attention to details and knowledge, the amount you need to work on yourself to even create content for people is like it's it's huge. I'm lucky I have three, and he's like that. He's like, wow, this, that, bomb, boom, bomb. But in, I teach a class online too. First, like lady follower style movement class, and it meets twice a week, and that's a lot. And you know, I'm discovering so much about that as a teacher. So I think that's what something people don't know, like the amount of creativity it takes. You know, and
Yeah.
there's no rest. I feel like you're constantly, this is it, there's no clocking out. Like if you're not thinking about dancing, you're watching videos, you're thinking of a new concept. It's like this, it's yeah, this pass to this pass off. Like either you're working out, not working out, or strengthening, or taking a class, or watching a ton of videos, or designing some like a lesson plan. Like sometimes I feel guilty for zoning out on my phone. I have this guilt of like that I made up, an anxiety of like, oh my God, like I could be doing so many productive things, but instead I'm like, I have to let that go. We all need to zone out sometimes, right?
That's super true. Yes, it's just time to relax. But I understand it's very different for you because I guess for me, I have a boss, and for you, it's like you are your own boss. So no one's telling you. You don't have like a set schedule, right? No one's saying, "Hey, you need to be doing this right now. Hey, you
Right.
should be." And then that can be very, very, very tough. So I understand that.
Thank you for saying that, because I think some people are like, I don't want a boss. I don't want someone telling me what to do. I'm really good with that. Like, I'm good with this.
It's easier. It's easier.
It's easier, but I think this is what I need. Because I'm good with not making decisions or being like, oh, I don't know. What do you want to do? And here it's like, it's great because you have to make decisions, and you have to be in charge of your schedule, and you have to be on top of being productive. It's a good skill.
Oh my goodness! Of course, of course. And so yeah, it's I guess a way to put it. There are pros and cons to everything in life, and so
Yes.
I,
Amen.
def-
Amen.
I understand that. I definitely understand that. Um, so I guess let me ask you this real quick, and then after this question, I want to kind of get into some advice for dancers. But you know, um, what are some things that you've learned from dancing that you're able to translate to your everyday life?
Yeah. I think, everything. No. I honestly, everyday activities, I'm so much more aware, or like curious. It's not even aware, but curious of what my body is doing. And like, am I doing something misaligned? Am I relaxed about it? I'm so much more interested in that. I'm so much more interested in when I get nervous, like around people. Like even in the beginning of this interview, I was a little bit anxious, and I was like, all right, I have to get out of that. But at least being aware of, either is it a mental thing or is it a physical thing, and that's been super helpful with everything. Sometimes I have a tantrum and I can't fucking solve it, and I'm on my I really wanna I wanna grow. That's it. And I know dancing has shown me that you can really grow, and there's always something you can do if you really want to. Like my body's changed, my and it's gonna keep changing, thank God. I used to think, no, this is my body, this is my boundaries, this is all I can do. And Ree showed me, no, you can do anything. You just have to like stop the barriers in your head and figure it out in your body. So that's my big takeaway in life as well. Like identifying, is this a mental thing? Is this a physical thing? And like, which one can I tackle first in like a rational way? Yeah.
I
It's
understand
hard.
that.
I'm not, I'm still doing it. I still
Mhm.
can go a little bit berserk, but
Yeah, I understand that.
no.
All right, so I kind of want to, I want to give some value to some dancers out there. So I kind of want to get into maybe some, some more Brazilian Zouk specific stuff. All right.
Yes.
Hey, perfect, perfect. So, and I guess let me ask you this: in your opinion, what constitutes, a good lead, or what makes for a great dance?
Yeah, great questions. I've learned a lot over this time that I've been dancing as well. I think a great leader, um, because I also lead and I want to be a great leader too. I think it's someone that is really musical, that's coming musical, and is clear with with musicality. Because sometimes you could be musical, but it's too many things at once, and then it's hard to show the person what it is you want. So someone like who's able to show me, or anyone, or me show someone, just clarity and what is it exactly I hear. Are we on the rhythm, or are we doing something in the song? And it's so cool when you can, when I as a leader or anyone leads and you can be clear with that. Or when I follow and I'm like, whoa, I heard that, I feel that. That's so cool. A second thing to leading, um, again, because I'm trying to, and Ree gives online leaders training classes, and I've been taking that. I think the power of the arms and what it is you're doing with your hands, this goes for a follower. The touch wise, how much tension and what exactly you're doing. Because sometimes we can get stressed out and just not know. So when you can manage to like have that relaxed formula in your hand, like, if I were like, this is a little remote, but like I could hold it like this, or I could just realize the weight and see that I don't need that much, like that same thing in the body. So musicality, this like kind of frame thing. And also, what makes, like, I think leading wise is if you can create this space, like still be close, but create a space where we can move inside so that our spines don't crunch. Because sometimes we don't know, like getting close, there's, even when you hug someone, like even to have a nice hug, it's like, Reese says this all the time, an avocado, the pit inside, it's like it's like two halves hugging the pit versus like smushing the avocado. It's like that energy, because you can still move inside of that, and like that's so cool. So it's kind of being aligned. If you're aligned as a leader and a follower, if you're aligned, it's already going to be yummy. Let me just plug my computer in. I don't want to lose you. So those are my three things. And I think that goes for following as well. Like, but something else happens in following actually.
I mean, I said that I would definitely I don't know, this may be wrong, but I feel like following may be your expertise, so I definitely want to hear about, I want to give some advice to followers out there. Let me ask you this real quick. What are some common mistakes that you see in your classes that you wish you could rectify, like once and for all?
I'm just because in classes, everything is okay. Everything is manageable, right? Nothing is like that bad at the end of the day. So it's no one's fault. But I think if I could just, every time I say this, like the rhythm, keeping the rhythm, especially when you learn a new move, is so helpful. Because if you don't have the rhythm to the new move, it's going to be like, it won't feel like a dance. It feels like kind of like more of a fight, like, because then you're focusing on something else. So for me, it's what's the rhythm, even if it's toom tack, or slow end, that's fine, but choose it, because it matters. That's my thing. Another is that's my big one. That's really my big one. What rhythm are you on? Just identify that. Are your feet moving to that rhythm? Because that's going to make everything, I think, easier, because foundation, like first from the feet goes up.
I understand that. Yes, I definitely understand that. You asked me earlier, where I got the name for the podcast, Two Left
Yeah.
Feet, and I think it kind of stems from my beginner stage in salsa, obviously, to where I was kind of like I was not your stereotypical African American male, black male. I couldn't really dance. I was scared to dance, and one of the things I struggled with was like finding the rhythm.
Listen to me. Salsa, I did ballroom, I did all these. Salsa is so difficult for me. It's so I that's my new, I really want to get into that. I want to do that really well. Yeah. Because that's the stuff. I used to be like roll my eyes, I was so ignorant. But it's only because I couldn't hear it. I was, I because there's so many sounds, there's so many ways to step. It's fast. Your legs have to be, you know, and That's a skill. That's awesome, salsa. I'm gonna get into that soon.
Okay, I understand that. Yeah, and you spoke on it earlier as well. You said so I do salsa, I do bachata, I do kizomba, and I do Brazilian zouk as well. And people like to say that the embrace in kizomba and Brazilian zouk are very similar, but I think you worded it well as where, you know, it's like two avocados for Brazilian zouk. And kizomba, it's a little bit different, the embrace. So I definitely understood you when you said that as well. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, that makes a lot of sense, and it's very different. In Brazilian zouk, you know, I guess you kind of need that space, right?
You know what? I think this because kizomba and Brazilian Zouk uses kizomba music. Oh, hello, we good? And so we share this. Zouk needs kizomba, like we're cousins. Um, love kizomba, by the way, but I think this. You can be close in kizomba, you can be far. Same in Zouk. You could be super close and you can be Wi-Fi connection. Like you could lead me from your screen. If you're not aligned, none will feel good. In kizomba, if you like maybe bring your elbows behind, bringing someone this close, you're going to sacrifice their body. So you can be super close, face to face, chest to chest, even pelvis to, but you're stacked. You're both aligned. The minute you both start arching, same thing with Zouk, same. Another thing is the basic, like we sometimes use tempo, but it's just because the weight distribution to the music is a little bit different than Zouk. But it's the same in theory. We step on these steps and we can be close or far, or you know what I mean? I think it's the same. It's still delicious because we're aligned and no one is sacrificing their body.
No, okay, I get you. I understand that. I definitely do. And that's why you kind of said it. You know, frame is super, super important, whether it be leads or follows. And that's something that you say you kind of focus on throughout your day. If you're misaligned or anything, yeah, it's being cognizant of that frame of your, you know, I guess your body structure, you know, where you're at. Very important. So I understand that.
Yeah, you know too, because you're in the military. You guys need to handle some stuff. You need to hold heavy stuff, right? You can't walk around like, oh, this is heavy, right? So it's funny, but
Yeah,
it's
it's so true, so true. Let me ask you this, you know, what are I want to help some followers out there. I guess you know, for someone who is a follower, I guess what are maybe some of the more important aspects, I guess, that they should be focusing on? Is it their steps? Is it their weight transfers? You know, is it their you know, their alignment? And you know, what are some important things that followers should be focusing on?
yeah, I'll just say that I'm right there with them. And what's helped me so much on my journey is what you said, alignment. And just to figure out, because I realized I kind of, it's so nice to follow. You know, you go, so you don't have to think of the next step. You know, but following has its own stuff. You know, everything has its own challenges. But um, it's I was doing stuff that I didn't know was actually my fault. You know what I mean? Like, oh, I someone was leading some. People could lead rougher than others, whatever. But if you're aligned, if you're comfortable, familiar with your body, different directions, it's easier to get through it. So I'd say the more you know about your body, especially alignment wise, where your hips go, what happens to your shoulders, like in this area, it's so helpful. It's so helpful because we can get a little bit hurt if we don't know what we're doing, you know. So it's just the more yoga maybe we do, some ballet, the more solo stuff we do as dancers, not only is it going to help us be safe, but will help us be creative and actually enjoy the dance even more, you know, with anybody. You don't know what they're doing? It's okay. I can do a double pirouette or whatever, you know, like some funny footwork or some I know they're holding on to me, but I can add a little something and keep going. So this that's the best to
I
focus on
understand that. Yeah, I
alignment.
definitely understand that. I think you
Ree taught me this. I used to be like, oh, but look at her point or look at her flexibility. And Riel just taught me the world of alignment and how essential it is for anything you do. And because it's so simple, right?
and okay, so you speak on it. I guess you say alignment. For a follower out there, I guess who may not be able to take a class with Riel, what are their options? What can they do?
Okay, yeah. There's so much online, even on Instagram. Like if you look up pelvic floor or shoulder alignment, like there's a lot of people just doing small exercises. That's like all you need. Just to see the muscles and some small exercises, like 15 minutes, a basic core, a few leg exercises, some squats. It's so helpful, like just little clips like that. But also, just because, you have me on here, we are online and reteaches every single day. Uh, and yeah, so we have little classes, and Ree is really great with solo work. Technically, that's all we're doing is solo work and focusing on different moves. But we have one class called Zen Zouk lines, and Ree has a lot of experience with like ballet and jazz, Latin jazz, a lot of solo movement. So this class is all about exploring kind of contemporary and classical lines. So it's like ballet, not quite ballet, jazz, not quite jazz. So just a little plug in
Of
case
course, of
anyone
course.
can't take class with us in person. We are super online right now.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful that you even offer that. I definitely appreciate that. Let me ask you this real quick. I don't want to hold you up too much longer. For someone who is a beginner in Brazilian Zouk, but they feel like they're stuck in this beginner's rut, what advice could you give them?
Yes. I'd say go to the socials as much as you can and ask people. Ask people to dance. I started and I didn't, because I'm from ballroom, I didn't know this asking culture and there weren't a lot of leaders. So I asked all the time because I just wanted to dance. I still ask. I know some people maybe come from different styles where followers are asked by leaders, or it's tough on leaders, so they ask people that they know. I'd say do your best to not focus on that and go out and ask people to dance as much as you can. If you want to say I'm a beginner, I'm trying to my sure, just so someone knows and whatever, but go and dance and party as much as you can. Take classes. It's super important. It's super important to have time. You know what it is? You have to work hard and you have to play hard. And this is what makes it more fun, because the more you work, the more you can really, it's like we live a party life too, in a sense. But what I love about it is that it's pretty safe and organized. Like, think about it. You train all day for however long so that you can kill it at night. So you can show up at night. I love that. That's what I love about this funny life that we live. Like, we work so hard on movement, like really kill it. But then when it's time to party, we dress up, the lights are off, the music is loud, you want to pregame, you want to drink, don't. But it's like there's that energy, and you dance with everybody, and like it's just, you're cultivating good energy that way. I love that. So the more you can go to parties, even if it's scary, even if someone says no, which they might, it's fine. Go out and do as much as you can.
So true, so true. Let me ask you the continuation of that. For someone who is an intermediate dancer and they want to get to that advanced level, what does it take for them?
Yeah, I think it's cliche, but I think it's like, if you examine your basics movement, even before that, just how you transfer weight to, if you can do it slow motion, if you can't, work on it, because that's what I'm working on now. Like doing slow motion is controlled movement. Like if you want to teach someone something, that's what I'm learning now. Like you have to do it slow. And if you're losing your balance, that means there's a doubt, right? Like so if you're able to control from A to B, that's a big deal. And I feel like that's the that's that advanced stuff, because when you're dancing on the floor, like what you know what's the difference between intermediate and advanced? Someone technically who doesn't really stumble, who can control from one side to the other, who can do something slow mo up versus like, or like, which is, listen, everything is fine. I'm working on it. We're all fucking working on it. It's because it's hard work. But I'm also noticing in my journey, that's the places that really humbled me and pushed me to figure out more. Because transferring my weight is hard. Doing things slow, you know? Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely understand that. I talk to a lot of people, and they always say, the basics are super, super important, and so I definitely understand that.
Basics in slow motion.
Okay.
That's the next level. Basics are important, but can you do that slow, slow?
Okay, I'll keep that in mind. I definitely
Oh,
will.
if you can dance with a beginner, if you can lead and follow a beginner without hiccups, like really have a good dance, that's something. And let me tell you something. I'm just last comment on that. Someone in my journey, two people humbled me a lot. Years ago, I was dancing, and like in the beginning, sometimes you have really good dances with some people, sometimes you have really not so good, right? Like you have some people are so good leaders and bad leaders, whatever bullshit. But anyway, you know what I mean. So one guy was like, you're such a good dancer, but for some reason I can't get that dancer from you. And in my head, I'm like, well, he did this, and that, whatever. And I was like, well, I don't want anyone to feel like that with me ever again. So that really pushed me to be like, you have to figure it out in your dances. Like even if it's not going well, I need to figure it out. And I remember this also one dance I had with Vinny and Riel. Vinny's also one of our dancers, amazing DJ, amazing teacher. And I was really tired. I didn't want to do it, but whatever. We start dancing, and I was like not into it. I'm like, oh, they're spinning me around, whatever. And after the dance, goes, what was that? And I was like, oh, I was tired and whatever. And he goes like, okay, so what could you have done about it? And I was like, okay, right, you're right. Because there's always something you can do, and you can always be better. You can always find different things. So that really helped push me into a more advanced dancer. So it doesn't matter who you dance with. Like you still can have a good dance. You can still find something good, and like offer something awesome. Yeah, sorry, that was a long answer, but
No, you're fine.
experiences help figure it out, right?
Definitely, definitely, of course, of course. Earlier you brought up musicality,
Yeah.
and I would love to hear from you. I guess one, what is your definition of musicality? Like, what is it? And two, how does one improve their musicality?
Yeah. Tempo keeps coming up in my head. Tempo, like, because even if you're at a party, or even if you like dance with just not a non-dancer, like in normal life, whatever that is, typically people find this a lot. Like when you listen to music, tune, ta, tune, like this groove, like you don't need to know anyone. You can just do this, and people will like do it with you. And I feel like it starts with this groove in your heart, like this thing, if you're able to maintain, and it's really relevant like in the music, and you can do this with someone, this is it, this is the gold. Because every melody, like even salsa, like has that heartbeat, or bachata or kizomba. Like, I don't know about tango, but you don't really groove like that. But I think that for me is really important. Just finding the tempo and everything. And then I guess musicality is when you really know the rhythm of the dance, like the basic, like for Zouk, like tum cha, something like that. And then you can play inside of that. Tum chiki cha, or whatever, like that's where your styling comes in, where you can't mess up the basic even if you have all these fun rhythms. Like that's, because I think what we with lacking musicality is like when the groove, you're just when we don't acknowledge it, and we do like too many things because we have so many ideas. We hear that's like me in salsa. I hear so much that I'm like a mess, and I'm like, what is it? So I need to like find that heartbeat. I need to train the song of salsa, whatever that is, like one ta tum cha. I need to hear that more and more so that I can play inside of that. I think that's what musicality is. Learn the song of the basic of whatever the dance is, and then you can play inside.
All right, definitely. That's very true, and that makes a lot of sense. Let me ask you this final question, real last one for you. Can you give me one tip that can make anyone a better dancer immediately?
Immediately. Tequila. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I think, I this it's hard, but I think it's mindset. Because it this happens to me all the time. The minute I'm like, no, I don't know. The minute I have a doubt, I don't do the extra turn. I fall out of the one-legged spin. I lose my balance. Like it's always that. It's so mystical, but it's sometimes just here. Like if you just say, okay, I'm gonna do this. I can do this. Sometimes, like some mental thing. I think it's just a gear in our head, or at least stop yourself from saying the doubt. Sorry, I got excited. Stop yourself from saying the doubt. I think that's my advice to make anyone do it right away, is just to believe a little bit that you can, which is easier said than done. But it's a mindset. It's what makes the dance better with whoever you dance with.
Of course. I mean,
I hope.
it sounds almost obvious to say, but oh my goodness, how important is mindset? Of course, mindset on anything, a positive outlook, can mean the world of a difference.
It's so annoying because it's so cliche and it's so simple, but it's actually so difficult sometimes, especially when you're not feeling it, and when you're in a rut, it's like that's the hardest thing to do, but it's the thing to do. It's like sure gonna work thing to do.
That's super, super true. Very, very true. Um, Jessica, at this point, I really want to thank you, for taking time out your night to talk to me.
Thank you for asking. Thank you for being so patient with me.
Of course.
We were scheduled a little bit ago, so I'm happy this worked out.
Of course, of course, of course. I know it's probably 1 a.m. your time, but real quick, tell me this. Do you have any upcoming events? Is there anything you want to plug that you want to share with the people?
Yeah, thank you for asking. So there's some events circulating online in Zouk. Right now I'm in the Unicorn weekend of Romina Hidalgo. Next weekend is the Zouk Lounge. You interviewed Pedrinho. So this is
Oh,
Pedrinho.
Virginia Matos, that's the big homie. I love
Oh
that guy.
my God, he's the best. He's just so this is his event. Him, Ricky, Linda, they threw it. It was great, great energy. A lot of people showing up, but like they just MC it so well, and the classes are great. A lot of artists. We have solo competitions, couples if you have a couple. Just great vibes. Great vibes. I sound like such a Valley girl, like really great vibes, and you should really come. And you know, the iHeart Zouk radio, they're so awesome. They're playing all the time. Sometimes they have Zoom rooms, and or they just do lives on Facebook. Um, really recommend them. And the biggest event is really the Zen Zouk online school, because we have classes every day and we're having a new summer schedule. So the day is free and we have like 3 hours at night. We have Wi-Fi series where this is our new thing, where we're going to be training how to do literal Wi-Fi. So Reed and I dance online, like he can lead me just through the screen. And we want to have kind of parties where we do that, like dance like this.
Wait, real quick, for someone who may be listening, you talk about like Wi-Fi connection. Speak on that. What is that exactly?
No hands. So this is a trait of classical like lambada, is where you dance and you start spinning and like you can control someone and head movement, and typically we do bonecas or chicochis, solchinos. So this is a trait. You can totally dance. This will make our dance amazing. Like we will be so clear. Leading, especially if you could lead Wi-Fi without touching someone, you got it. You got it. Like you got the dance. So this is this is what we're going to be doing. So technically, literally Wi-Fi on Wi-Fi, you know, action. So that maybe when you're at the next party, you could just pin someone. We've had classes already where we pin someone and we lead and follow, which has been really great. So we have that series, Zen Zouk lines, which is just solo classic movement. We have Brazilian Zouk, so typical Brazilian Zouk movements, and also lambada on the quick. So we dance on the quick and the slow. Rhea is super creative, so I'm sure we're gonna have like even more classes. I teach a series called Working on It. It's my styling on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and typically it's 4 weeks. And each week I focus on first week legs, second arms, third undulation isolation, and fourth twists and turns. So I just keep these topics, but I keep changing the combinations and focuses on each one. So yeah, this is the big online thing right now. Like there people are having little congresses and stuff, and we're growing our school, which is cool because it feels like this sense of normalcy. And there's people that we see that we never see, and now we see them every day in our home, you know? So everything has its pro and con.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Real quick, tell me this. How can people reach out to you? How can they get in contact with you?
If I'm Jessica Lamdon on Facebook. If someone sends me a direct message, I'll receive it, even if it's not, even if we're not friends. So I'll always respond. So it's just Jessica Lamdon, and on Instagram I'm Jess, Lamz, Jess Lambs. My name is Jessica Lamdon. So years ago I did Jess Lambs with a Z. I should probably change it, but I'm on Instagram, so you could, and it's public, so you can message me there. Riel is on Instagram, Riel Zen Zouk. We also have www.zenzouk.com. Everything is there. Yeah, but super accessible. Facebook, if you need anything private message, I'm there.
Jessica, like I said earlier, I really, I want to thank you so much. I thoroughly enjoyed this conversation. I really enjoyed it.
Terrence, you're amazing. You're a great interviewer.
I appreciate that. So real quick, do you have any last words before we close out this episode? Anything you want to share with the people?
I want to say thank you so much for tuning in. Uh, I want to thank you so much for having me. I want to thank my partner because he's really the best. um, and I hope, I really hope that it brings you as much joy as it brings me. I know it will bring you as much joy. I also know that dancing is like a roller coaster because it's work on yourself. And I hope that even when it gets tough, even when it gets really freaking tough and you're like, why do I even do this? I hope you keep going because it's so rewarding to get through those sticky times, because it feels like it gets personal. It feels like it could get really personal. But I hope that you just let it have its moment and go through, because we can do anything. We can do anything. I started spinning on one leg. I never used to do that. Like I started at 25, you know, we could do anything. And I hope that we grow. And I feel like it's the social scene is growing like a family, and I hope it stays that way. This has been super rewarding on a family level, and what I've learned about people isn't really from psych, it's from the dance scene, you know. So that's what I hope. That's what I say. I hope to see you guys in person. I hope you enjoy. I hope we keep dancing through the pandemic, through whatever's going on. I hope we grow and everything. As long as we're dancing, we'll be okay.
Yeah, I like it. I like it. I think that is a great way to wrap up this episode of the Two Left Feet podcast. Thank you so much, Jessica.
Thank you so much.
Hey.
So,
Take it easy.
enjoy Guam.
I definitely will.
Enjoy the beach.
That's all it is. Hey everyone, if you made it this far all the way to the end of the video, I want to thank you so much. My overall goal with making these interviews and these episodes is to give a voice to dancers, you know, to give them a platform to speak their story. So if this is of value to anyone, then that means the world to me. My overall goal is to give value to the dance community. So if you find no value in this, then I urge you to please let me know where I can improve on. I truly want to, you know, just give value and content to the dance community. So please let me know how I can improve, where I'm messing up, because to be 100% honest with you, you know, I'm learning along the way as I do this. I truly am. So to be able to interact with, you know, the dance community, it means the world to me, because it gives me feedback and it lets me know, you know, what I'm doing right, where I can improve upon, you know, what I'm doing wrong, which I feel like might maybe more important. So please, if you all could comment and just let me know what you think, it means the world to me, because, you know, that feedback just helps me improve. So please comment as well. You know, please like and subscribe. That means a lot as well. But you know, I want to say thank you so much for just watching this, because it means the world to me. You know, I want to take you on this journey of the Two Left Feet podcast. You know, I'm very excited for it. So once again, thank you so much.